The vast chamber of the Hegemony Dialogue Hall fell silent as Maya Tran stepped through the massive reinforced doors. The Azura planet's artificial atmosphere carried a slight metallic tang, characteristic of neutral diplomatic zones throughout the galaxy. Towering pillars of luminescent crystal supported the vaulted ceiling, casting prismatic light across the assembled dignitaries from 100 worlds. Maya straightened her Earth Diplomatic Corps uniform, the blue and silver fabric shifting slightly with each step. As the human ambassador to the Interstellar Council, she had faced her share of challenges, but nothing quite like this. Her dark eyes surveyed the circular arrangement of seats, each occupied by representatives whose species had mastered faster-than-light travel and established themselves among the stars. The year 3247 SE, Standard Era, marked humanity's 73rd year of interstellar travel. In galactic terms, they were newcomers, barely acknowledged by the ancient civilizations that dominated interstellar politics. And yet, here she stood, tasked with what many considered impossible. "Ambassador Tran," announced the moderator, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid exosuit. "You have been summoned to organize the first peace summit with the Axiom Dominion." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Axiom, a warrior race whose very name invoked terror across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Undefeated in battle, uncompromising in negotiation. They lived by a single principle: strength is the only truth worth respecting. Maya nodded respectfully. "I accept the assignment, moderator." More murmurs, louder now, tinged with disbelief and something that sounded suspiciously like pity. "Ambassador," a gravelly voice called from the Centaurian delegation. "You realize no diplomatic mission to the Axiom has ever returned intact." Maya smiled. It was the kind of smile her grandmother had worn when neighbors insisted their family restaurant would never survive in the competitive district of New Saigon. That restaurant now had branches on 7 planets. "Then we shall have to make history, won't we?" The delegation files described the Axiom Dominion in stark terms. A society built entirely around warfare, ruled by warlords who commanded fleets capable of reducing planets to ash. Their technology was estimated to be at least 3 centuries ahead of Earth's best defenses. Their warriors were genetically enhanced for combat, with redundant organ systems and accelerated healing. They considered negotiation a sign of weakness, and compromise an admission of defeat. Maya studied these files aboard her diplomatic vessel, the ESS Harmony, as it traversed the final parsecs to Azura. The neutral planet had been chosen for the summit after months of careful positioning through intermediaries. Even securing this preliminary meeting had cost the Earth Diplomatic Corps 3 ships and 7 diplomats. "We've entered the Azura system, Ambassador," her communications officer informed her. "Scanners show the Axiom delegation has already arrived." Maya closed the holographic display. "What's their formation?" "Battle ready, ma'am. 3 dreadnoughts, positioned to triangulate the diplomatic zone." Of course, the Axiom would never appear vulnerable, even in supposedly peaceful negotiations. "Prepare the diplomatic pod," Maya instructed. "And Lieutenant Phillips." "Yes, Ambassador." "Make sure the special cargo is secured, all of it." "Yes, ma'am." The lieutenant hesitated. "Ambassador, are you certain about going alone? Protocol suggests—" "Protocol has never successfully engaged with the Axiom," Maya replied, her voice gentle but firm. "Sometimes the unexpected path is the only one worth taking." The pod detached from the Harmony, with a soft, pneumatic hiss, its trajectory calculated to appear non-threatening to the Axiom sensors. Maya reviewed her mission parameters one last time. The Interstellar Council wanted a cessation of Axiom expansion into the Orion Spur, where several developing civilizations were at risk. Earth, occupying a strategic position at the edge of that spur, had volunteered to mediate, partly out of humanitarian concern, partly to establish themselves as players in galactic politics. What the council didn't know was that Maya had her own approach, one not found in any diplomatic handbook. The landing pad on Azura was a marvel of engineering, capable of accommodating vessels from any known species. As Maya's pod touched down, she could see an Axiom shuttle already docked, a sleek, predatory shape of dark metal and glowing red energy lines, at least 4 times the size of her modest craft. The airlock cycled, and Maya stepped onto Azuran soil. A delegation of local officials waited at a respectful distance, clearly nervous about being caught between Earth and the Axiom. Beyond them stood a group of figures that could only be the Axiom representatives. They were impressive, humanoid but larger, with heights averaging 7 feet. Their skin ranged from deep bronze to obsidian, covered partially by form-fitting armor that seemed to pulse with internal energy. Most striking were their eyes, completely black except for vertical pupils that glowed with an amber light. Maya approached, stopping at the traditional diplomatic distance. "Greetings, honorable representatives of the Axiom Dominion. I am Maya Tran, ambassador of Earth and the Sol System. I bring the respect and goodwill of my people." The tallest of the Axiom stepped forward. Unlike the others, whose armor was predominantly black with red accents, this one wore armor of crimson and gold. A warlord. Then, "I am Cathal, supreme warlord of the Axiom Dominion, conqueror of the Perseus Void, destroyer of the Zilith Confederation." His voice was surprisingly melodic for such an imposing figure. "You speak of respect, human, but words are wind. The Axiom respect only one thing." Maya knew what was coming. The files had warned of this, though many had doubted the Axiom would resort to their traditional challenges in a diplomatic setting. "You will participate in the judgment ritual," Cathal announced, "or you will be declared enemy, and your species added to our conquest registry." Around them, the Azuran officials gasped. Even in this era of interspecies cooperation, the judgment ritual was legendary, a series of combat challenges designed to test the worth of any who sought dialogue with the Axiom. No diplomat had ever survived it. Maya observed the other diplomats quickly dispersing, leaving her alone before the Axiom delegation. She had anticipated this moment, had prepared for it, but standing before these warriors, each capable of tearing her apart with minimal effort, reality struck harder than simulation. She had 2 choices: accept the challenge and almost certainly die, or refuse and doom Earth to eventual Axiom invasion. Maya smiled. "I accept your judgment ritual, Warlord Cathal, though I request a minor accommodation regarding Earth customs." The Axiom warriors exchanged glances. This was not the terror they expected. Cathal's eyes narrowed. "Specify." "In Earth diplomatic tradition, we bring gifts to our potential allies. Before we begin your ritual, I wish to present mine." Without waiting for permission, Maya turned and signaled her pod. A compartment opened, and several sealed containers emerged on an automated platform. "What trickery is this?" demanded one of the Axiom warriors, hand moving to his weapon. "No trickery," Maya assured them. "Simply hospitality. On Earth, we believe that understanding begins with sharing food, drink, and culture." She opened the first container, releasing the aroma of spices and herbs carefully selected to be compatible with Axiom physiology. Cathal studied her with those unnerving amber-on-black eyes. "You would delay the ritual with meals?" "Not delay," Maya corrected. "Enhance. You seek to judge us worthy of dialogue. I suggest we conduct that dialogue while experiencing each other's traditions." The warlord was silent for a long moment. Then, to the visible shock of his warriors, he laughed, a sound like distant thunder. "You are either the bravest or most foolish diplomat we have encountered. Very well, Maya Tran of Earth. We will incorporate your hospitality into the judgment ritual. But make no mistake, you will still face our champions in combat." Maya bowed slightly. "I would expect nothing less." The judgment ritual would take place over 3 days, with 3 challenges. By axiom tradition, each would be more difficult than the last, culminating in a final confrontation with Warlord Cathal himself. If Maya survived all 3, the axiom would consider Earth worthy of respect, and perhaps negotiation. She was escorted to quarters within the diplomatic compound, sparse but functional, with reinforced walls that suggested they were usually reserved for more physically formidable species. As soon as the door sealed behind her, Maya activated her secure communication link. Harmony, this is Tran. Phase 1 is proceeding as anticipated. Prepare the additional cargo for delivery tomorrow at first light. Understood, Ambassador, came the reply. Are you certain about this approach? Central Command is concerned. Maya gazed out at the alien sky, where the massive Axiom dreadnoughts hung like predators waiting to strike. Sometimes, Lieutenant, the only way to survive is to change the rules of the game entirely. The next morning, Maya was led to a circular arena within the diplomatic compound. A small audience had gathered, mostly Azuran officials and a few brave representatives from other species, curious to see how quickly the human diplomat would fall. The arena floor was covered in fine red sand, imported from the Axiom homeworld. At its center stood a warrior nearly 8 feet tall, powerfully built even by Axiom standards. His skin was a deep obsidian, and ritual scars formed intricate patterns across his exposed arms and face. This is Croxy, Master Hunter of the Outer Realms, Cathal announced from a raised platform. He will be your first challenge. Maya stepped into the arena, wearing not battle armor, but her standard diplomatic uniform. The crowd murmured at this apparent suicide. Croxy looked almost disappointed. You bring no weapon, human. Maya smiled. I bring many weapons. Hunter Croxy, none that you can see. The warrior grunted. Then, this will be quick. He drew a curved blade from his back, a traditional hunting weapon. Maya recognized from her studies. A concession, perhaps. He could have chosen something far more lethal. A resonant tone echoed through the arena, signaling the start of combat. Croxy moved with astonishing speed for his size, covering the distance between them in a heartbeat. Maya sidestepped, not quickly enough to avoid him completely, but enough to turn a killing blow into a graze along her arm. The crowd gasped, expecting her to fall, but Maya remained standing, circling away from the hunter. First blood to you, Master Hunter, she acknowledged. An impressive strike. Croxy paused, confused by her composure. You should be incapacitated. Our blades are treated with neurotoxins. Yes, I know, Maya replied calmly. Which is why I took the antidote before entering the arena. Now, the warrior was truly surprised. You anticipated this specific combat style? I studied all available records of Axiom hunting techniques. Your people are remarkably consistent in honoring traditional methods. She gestured to his blade. That's a Vraxian skinning knife, typically used in the ritual hunt of the phase beasts on Teller Prime. The toxin is derived from the stingray analog, native to your homeworld's southern oceans. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Croxy's features. This was not proceeding as expected. You know our ways, he acknowledged, but knowledge will not save you from what comes next. He launched another attack. This time, a complex series of strikes designed to force an opponent into a defensive pattern before delivering the killing blow. Maya recognized this too, and did something unprecedented. Instead of attempting to counter each strike, she narrated them as they came. Overhead feint, followed by low thrust. Classic opening from the 6th hunting manual, she called out, moving just enough to avoid serious injury. Now the sideward slash that flows into the crescent moon pattern. Next comes the spear of morning. As she predicted each move, Croxy's rhythm faltered. No prey had ever understood the sacred patterns of the hunt, let alone anticipated them. The crowd was now watching in stunned silence as the human diplomat, bleeding from several minor wounds but still very much alive, continued to evade death through nothing more than knowledge and minimal movement. "How?" Croxy demanded, pausing his assault. "These techniques are sacred to the Axiom. No outsider has witnessed them and lived." Maya caught her breath. "Except those who did live, however briefly, and whose final transmissions were recorded. I studied the deaths of those who came before me. Hunter Croxy. I honored their sacrifice by learning." The arena fell absolutely silent. What Maya had just revealed was extraordinary. That Earth had collected and analyzed the final moments of failed diplomatic missions. Something no other species had thought to do, or had the technology to accomplish. Croxy lowered his blade slightly. "You honored your fallen by learning from their defeat. We honored all fallen, yours and ours, by seeking understanding rather than revenge." The hunter considered this, then did something shocking. He drove his blade into the sand at his feet. "I yield this match," he announced, his voice carrying across the arena. Gasps and murmurs erupted from the spectators. Cathal rose from his seat, his expression thunderous. "You cannot yield. This is the judgment ritual." Croxy turned to face his warlord. "The purpose of the hunt is to test worthy prey. This one has proven worthy through means I did not anticipate. To continue would dishonor the ritual more than yielding." For a tense moment, it seemed Cathal might order Croxy's immediate execution. Instead, he slowly sank back into his seat. "The first challenge is concluded," he declared. "The human survives, for now." As Maya was escorted from the arena, she caught Croxy's eye. The hunter inclined his head ever so slightly, not quite respect, but acknowledgement. It was a beginning. Back in her quarters, Maya treated her wounds with medical nanites and reviewed her strategy. The first phase had gone better than expected, but she harbored no illusions. The next challenge would be designed specifically to counter her demonstrated abilities. When a knock came at her door, she was surprised to find Croxy waiting outside. "Hunter," she greeted him cautiously. "Ambassador." He seemed uncomfortable. "I come without the knowledge of my warlord. This is irregular. Please, enter." He had to duck to clear the doorway. Inside, he examined her quarters with evident curiosity. "You requested to incorporate your Earth traditions into the ritual," he said finally. "What does this entail?" Maya gestured to a small table where she had set out several containers from her ship. "On Earth, when we seek to understand potential friends or adversaries, we often share a meal." Croxy's expression was unreadable. "You consider the Axiom potential friends?" "I consider all intelligent species potential friends until definitively proven otherwise." She opened one of the containers, releasing the aroma of spiced tea. "This is chai, a traditional beverage from a region of Earth called India. The spices have been selected to be compatible with Axiom physiology." The hunter hesitated, then sat across from her, the furniture creaking under his weight. "Why do this? You know tomorrow's challenge will be designed to kill you." Maya poured the tea into 2 cups. "Perhaps, but tonight, we can learn from each other." She pushed a cup toward him. "For instance, I know the Axiom have a similar tradition, the victory tea ceremony after a successful hunt." Croxy's eyes widened slightly. "How could you possibly know of that? It is not practiced outside our homeworld." "Cultural anthropology is a human specialty," Maya replied with a small smile. "We're insatiably curious about how others live." The hunter cautiously lifted the cup and sniffed its contents. After a moment's hesitation, he took a small sip. His expression shifted from suspicion to surprise. "This resembles our jara root infusion." "Yes, Earth and Axiom evolved similar plant compounds, despite developing in different star systems." "Fascinating, isn't it?" Maya sipped her own tea. "It suggests certain molecular structures are universal solutions to environmental challenges." For the next hour, they talked, carefully at first, then with increasing openness. Maya learned of axiom hunting rituals, their reverence for worthy opponents, their complex code of honor that extended beyond mere combat prowess. In turn, she shared stories of Earth's diverse cultures, its history of both terrible wars and remarkable reconciliations. As Croxy prepared to leave, he paused at the door. "Ambassador, tomorrow you face Zara, our tactical master. She has analyzed your performance today and will be prepared." Maya nodded. "Thank you for the warning, Hunter Croxy." "It was not a warning," he replied, "but an acknowledgement of respect. You have earned that much." He hesitated. The tea was acceptable. After he left, Maya sent another transmission to the Harmony. "Phase 2. Preparation complete. Proceed with special cargo delivery at dawn. And Lieutenant, tell Central Command their concerns are noted, but we're proceeding according to plan." The second day of the Judgment Ritual dawned with increased attendance. Word had spread of the human diplomat who had somehow survived, even impressed, an axiom hunter. Representatives from a dozen more species had arrived overnight, eager to witness this unprecedented event. The arena had been reconfigured. Instead of open sand, it now featured a complex arrangement of barriers, platforms, and obstacles, a tactical battleground that would favor intelligence over brute strength. Maya's opponent was already present when she arrived. Zara, the Axiom tactical master, was tall and lean, her bronze skin contrasting with silver-white hair pulled into an elaborate warrior's braid. Unlike Croxy's ritual hunting blade, she carried what appeared to be a staff of polished black metal, inlaid with glowing red circuitry. "Tactician Zara," Maya greeted her with a respectful bow. Zara did not return the gesture. "I have studied your encounter with Croxy. Your strategy will not work a second time. I would expect nothing less from the Axiom's foremost tactical mind," Maya replied. "Which is why I brought you a gift." The crowd murmured as Maya revealed a small wooden box she had carried into the arena. Even Cathal leaned forward in his seat, eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Another delay tactic?" Zara questioned. "Not at all. A demonstration of Earth's approach to tactical thinking." Maya opened the box to reveal an ancient game board with carved pieces. "This is chess, a strategic game played on Earth for over 2,000 years. I thought you might appreciate the parallels to Axiom battle doctrine." Zara's expression remained impassive, but her eyes betrayed interest. "You bring a game to a life or death challenge?" "I bring a cultural exchange," Maya corrected. "But if you prefer to proceed directly to combat, I understand." The tactical master studied the board for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, she placed her weapon on the ground and knelt to examine the chess pieces more closely. "Explain the parameters," she demanded. For the next 20 minutes, as the audience watched in bewilderment, Maya taught Zara the basic rules of chess. The Axiom tactician grasped the concepts with remarkable speed, immediately identifying strategic principles that had taken human grandmasters centuries to develop. "This queen piece," Zara observed, "moves in any direction, making it the most powerful unit. Yet victory depends on the king, which is limited in movement." An interesting commentary on the relationship between power and leadership. "Many on Earth have drawn similar conclusions," Maya agreed. "Different cultures interpret the game in ways that reflect their own values." Zara set up the pieces for a proper match. "We will play. If you win, I yield the challenge. If I win, we proceed to combat, and I will show no mercy." Maya inclined her head. "Agreed." What followed was unlike anything the gathered diplomats had ever witnessed. A human and an axiom, seated across from each other on the arena floor, engaged in deep strategic thinking. Zara played aggressively at first, sacrificing pieces for positional advantage, a reflection of Axiom military doctrine. Maya responded with more conservative play, protecting her pieces, and building coordinated formations. As the game progressed, something remarkable happened. Zara began adapting, experimenting with different approaches. By the mid-game, she was playing in a style that blended axiom aggression with more measured tactics. The crowd, initially restless, had fallen into fascinated silence. "You protect your pawns," Zara noted after Maya refused an exchange that would have cost her a lesser piece. "Each piece has value," Maya replied, "even those that seem expendable." "The axiom do not think this way. Our warriors are bred for purpose. Sacrifice is expected when victory demands it." "And yet," Maya observed, moving her knight to threaten Zara's queen, "your greatest leaders, like Warlord Cathal, are known for minimizing casualties while maximizing strategic gains. Is that not valuing every warrior?" Zara glanced up at Cathal, who was watching with unreadable intensity. "You have studied our military history as well." "I've studied everything available about the axiom. Knowledge is the foundation of understanding." The game continued for another hour, evolving into a complex endgame where both sides had opportunities. When Zara finally tipped over her king in resignation, the gesture was not one of defeat, but of recognition. "You play unexpectedly," the tactical master acknowledged. "Your strategy incorporated elements of my approach while remaining true to your own principles." "The best solutions often come from synthesis rather than dominance," Maya replied. Zara stood, retrieving her weapon. "I yield this challenge. The human has demonstrated tactical acumen worthy of the axiom." This time, Cathal did not protest. Instead, he studied Maya with newfound intensity before declaring the day's challenge complete. As the crowd dispersed, buzzing with speculation about what they had witnessed, Zara approached Maya privately. "You could have won 12 moves earlier," she said quietly. "You intentionally extended the game. Why?" Maya smiled. "Because the goal wasn't to win, tactician Zara. It was to have a conversation through the medium of strategy. Did we not learn more about each other this way than we would have through combat?" The tactical master considered this. "The axiom have never encountered your approach before. It is disorienting. Change often is, but it can also be invigorating." Maya offered the chess set as a gift. "Perhaps you might teach others." Zara accepted the box with surprising care. "Perhaps, though many will not understand." "Understanding takes time," Maya agreed, "but it begins with curiosity." That evening, both Croxy and Zara visited Maya's quarters. They brought traditional axiom provisions, dense nutrition bars designed for warriors, and a fermented beverage that Maya recognized from her research as reserved for strategic planning sessions among senior officers. "You have caused considerable disruption," Zara informed her, though without apparent disapproval. "The warrior cadres are debating your methods. Some call them dishonorable avoidance of true challenge." "And others?" Maya asked, setting out plates for the food she had prepared in return. "Others are intrigued," Croxy admitted. "The concept of exchange without combat is foreign to many, but not unwelcome to all." As they shared the meal, Earth cuisines carefully adapted for axiom consumption, alongside traditional warrior rations, Maya noticed the gradual relaxation in her guest's posture and speech. By the time they moved to a discussion of comparative artistic traditions, with Maya displaying holographic representations of Earth's greatest works alongside descriptions of axiom war sculptures, the conversation had achieved a remarkable ease. "Tomorrow you face Cathal himself," Zara finally said, returning to reality. "He will not be swayed by games or cultural exchange. He is warlord because he has never known defeat," Croxy added. "His identity, his very being, is built upon this foundation." Maya nodded. "I understand, and I thank you both for your honesty, and for this evening. Whatever happens tomorrow, I count this mission a success for having made this connection." After they left, Maya did not immediately contact the harmony. Instead, she sat in silence, contemplating the final challenge ahead. What she planned was either brilliant or suicidal, possibly both. But the seeds had been planted. Tomorrow would determine whether they could grow. The final day of the judgment ritual drew the largest audience yet. Representatives from nearly every spacefaring species in the sector had arrived, along with media transmitters that would broadcast the event across the galaxy. The unprecedented had occurred twice already. No one wanted to miss what might happen next. The arena had been cleared of all obstacles, returning to the simple circle of red sand. At its center stood Warlord Cathal, resplendent in full, ceremonial battle armor, layers of articulated crimson, and gold plates that enhanced his already imposing physique. In his hand was a weapon of legend, the Sunfire Glaive, said to have cut through the hulls of capital ships during the Axiom's rise to power. Maya entered wearing her diplomatic uniform, but with one addition: a small Earth flag patch on her sleeve, positioned where Axiom warriors displayed their clan markings. "Warlord Cathal," she greeted him, her voice carrying across the silent arena. "I am honored to complete the judgment ritual with you." Cathal's expression was stone. "You have survived through trickery and manipulation. Human. Today, there will be only combat. No games. No cultural exchanges. No clever words." Maya nodded. "I understand. However, Earth tradition requires that I make one final request before we begin." The warlord's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You test my patience, Ambassador." In Earth diplomatic tradition, when facing a final resolution, leaders break bread together one last time. She gestured toward the edge of the arena, where attendants from her ship waited with covered trays. "I ask for a meal shared before combat, to honor both the warrior about to triumph and the one about to fall." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. This was unprecedented, and technically not against the ritual's rules, which allowed for honorable pre-combat ceremonies. Cathal looked as though he might refuse outright. But then, his gaze swept the assembled audience. Representatives from 100 worlds watched, many clearly impressed by the humans' conduct thus far. To reject a reasonable cultural accommodation now would seem small. "One meal," he conceded finally, brief and without further delay. At Maya's signal, her attendants brought forward a small table and chairs, setting them in the center of the arena. The covered trays were arranged with ceremonial precision, and Maya invited the warlord to sit. What followed defied all expectations. Rather than a perfunctory meal before inevitable combat, Maya guided the conversation with practiced diplomatic skill. She spoke of Earth's own warrior traditions, finding parallels with Axiom values. She asked thoughtful questions about Cathal's famous campaigns, demonstrating detailed knowledge that even his own tacticians might not possess. Most surprisingly, she spoke of isolation. "The greatest warriors in Earth's history often wrote of loneliness," she observed, pouring a traditional wine from her homeworld. "The burden of command, the weight of decisions that affect millions, these create a solitude that few can understand." Cathal, who had been mostly silent, studied her with those unsettling amber eyes. "You suggest the Axiom warlord experiences loneliness." "I suggest it is a universal experience of leadership," Maya replied carefully. "To stand apart, by necessity, from those you lead, to make decisions others cannot comprehend because they don't see the full strategic picture." She smiled slightly. "Am I incorrect?" For a long moment, the warlord was silent. When he spoke again, his voice had lost some of its ceremonial formality. "Your assessment is not entirely without merit. The Axiom respects strength above all, but strength isolates. Those below you cannot be true companions, for they lack your perspective. Those equal to you are potential rivals." He took a small sip of the wine. "This is not unpleasant." "It's from my family's vineyard," Maya explained. My grandmother taught me that sharing what is personal creates bridges no formal diplomacy can build. Your grandmother was a warrior. A survivor. She escaped a war-torn region, crossed an ocean with nothing but her knowledge, and built a new life. The Axiom would respect her resilience. I think. The conversation continued, moving from personal histories to philosophical questions about the purpose of conflict, the nature of honor, and the future of interstellar relations. All around them, the audience watched in fascinated silence as the human diplomat and the Axiom warlord engaged in the most unexpected form of combat, the exchange of ideas. When the meal concluded, Cathal rose from his seat. The arena held its collective breath, waiting for combat to begin. Instead, the warlord did something that would be replayed on news feeds across the galaxy for decades to come. He deactivated his sunfire glaive and returned it to its sheath. The judgment ritual is complete, he announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the arena. The human, Maya Tran of Earth, has demonstrated courage, intelligence, and honor worthy of the Axiom's respect. Gasps and exclamations erupted from the crowd. Several Axiom warriors looked at each other in confusion. This was unprecedented. A judgment ritual concluded without the final combat. But warlord, one of his lieutenants protested, the traditional combat has taken place, Cathal interrupted. Though not with blades. The human chose a battlefield of ideas and traditions, and fought with skill I have rarely encountered. He turned to Maya. You came not to defeat the Axiom, but to understand us. In doing so, you have achieved what no amount of military force could accomplish. Maya bowed deeply. The honor is mine, Warlord Cathal. Earth seeks not dominance but partnership with the Axiom, as with all spacefaring civilizations. Partnership, the Warlord repeated, as if testing an unfamiliar concept. The Axiom have never had partners. Only enemies, subjects, or those too insignificant to notice. He regarded her thoughtfully. What would such a partnership entail? And so began the true negotiations, not in formal council chambers, but in the arena meant for combat, witnessed by representatives from across the galaxy. Maya outlined a vision of cultural and culinary exchange programs, joint scientific expeditions, and eventually, perhaps, mutual defense agreements. Most radical was her proposal for an interspecies friendship initiative, a formal diplomatic program that would bring together young representatives from Earth and the Axiom for extended cultural immersion. Your warriors would learn our ways, and our diplomats would learn yours, she explained. Not to change either, but to build understanding that prevents unnecessary conflict. By the day's end, something remarkable had occurred. The Axiom Dominion, terror of three spiral arms, had not only ceased their military expansion into the Orion Spur, but had agreed to send representatives to Earth for the first official cultural exchange. News traveled faster than light across the galaxy, transmitted through quantum entanglement networks and carried by courier ships to the farthest reaches of known space. The Earth approach, as it came to be known, became a subject of intense study and debate in diplomatic circles everywhere. 3 months later, Maya stood in the grand reception hall of the Earth Diplomatic Corps headquarters in New Geneva, overseeing final preparations for the arrival of the first Axiom cultural delegation. Among the expected representatives were Croxy, Zara, and, most surprisingly, Warlord Cathal himself. Ambassador Tran, her assistant called. We've received requests from 17 previously hostile species asking to participate in friendship initiatives modeled on the Axiom Agreement. The diplomatic corps is overwhelmed. Maya smiled. Then we'll need to expand. Contact the universities. We need more cultural anthropologists, linguists, and diplomatic trainees. Also, the Galactic Council has requested your presence at next month's assembly. They're creating a new position, High Mediator for Interspecies Relations, and they want you to fill it. Before Maya could respond, another aide rushed in. Ambassador, the Axiom delegation has entered orbit earlier than expected. Warlord Cathal is requesting permission to land immediately. Grant it, of course, Maya instructed, and notify the culinary team to advance the welcome feast preparations. As her staff hurried to accommodate the early arrival, Maya took a moment to stand by the window, looking up at the sky where distant ships were visible as moving stars. Among them would be the Axiom vessels, once harbingers of terror, now arriving in peace. Her communication device chimed with a direct message from Cathal. Eager to continue our discussion on the philosophical implications of cross-species literature. Have brought Axiom epic poems for comparison with your Shakespeare. Also, my chief culture officer insists I try something called ice cream. Maya laughed softly. From warrior to cultural tourist in 3 short months, the galaxy was changing faster than anyone had predicted. As she prepared to welcome her Axiom friends, Maya couldn't help but think of her grandmother's favorite saying, "The fiercest opponent can become the strongest ally. You just need to find what you share." In the case of humans and the Axiom, what they shared had turned out to be curiosity, respect for tradition, and, unexpectedly, a mutual sense of isolation in a vast, complex galaxy. From that small common ground, something revolutionary had grown. The next day, as Maya led the first official community summit, with delegates from 27 formerly hostile species, she caught Cathal's eye across the room. The warlord, engaged in animated conversation with an Arctelian philosopher and an Earth literature professor, gave her the subtlest of nods, acknowledgement of a victory greater than any won on the battlefield. Maya returned the gesture. This was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, cultural misunderstandings to navigate, and centuries of interspecies hostility to overcome. But the foundation had been laid for something unprecedented, a galaxy where differences were explored rather than feared, where strength found expression in alliance rather than domination. As she moved through the crowded hall, where weapons had been transformed into serving trays and military technology repurposed for translation and cultural sharing, Maya knew that humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as friends to all, even those who had never known friendship before.